there was just so much animosity between Lewis and us. Before we played each other in the singles, he was properly going at me backstage, and I thought, there's only one way to shut you up, and that's to beat you. And I did.
2012, the World Cup. Arguably, probably the most famous final in that tournament. I know it might be a painful one to talk about, but I mean, losing to England in that sudden death leg, in general, the nature of that final, I mean, that must have been an incredible thing to play in, first and foremost, looking back, but a painful one to take at the time.
Yeah, the thing about that final was that, playing with Simon at the time was kind of difficult at the start of that tournament because we'd fallen out before this tournament. And Mark probably remembers in 2011 when we were in Ireland, Simon and I played each other in a match in 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗃, and it ended up me and him walking different ways. We were not talking to each other for months. So
I need to watch, mind.
Yeah.
Coming into the World Cup, we buried the hatchet. And we said, look, this is not about us. This is about, us playing with the shirt on and doing this for Australia. And we had a proper chat, and we buried the hatchet, and we said, right, let's move on. And we never had a crossword after that, which was terrific. But I think that tournament was important for our relationship, for us to bond. I think I just found another level of aggression. I thought maybe this is something, that I could do for Simon to, give him some, further fame in Australia, because he was the man. I was his wingman.
Yeah.
He was the chairman of Australian darts for me, and I just wanted to help him out. And I wanted to pay my debt to Australia for everything they'd done for me. And I thought the perfect way to do that was to win a World Cup. When we got England in the final, I thought, right, I want to play Lewis because I've got such a good record against him on the stage.
Yeah.
And consequently, I've never lost to him on a big stage. But there was just so much animosity between Lewis and us. Taylor was like a rat in the corner. He was just.
I was going to say Taylor wasn't embroiled. 𝗍𝗲 wasn't playing well at the time. I know he just won the world title. He didn't play well in that final, did he?
No.
It was all about sort of Phil, and it was a bit of a not a miscarriage of justice, but for 𝗍𝗲 to hit the winning double, he wasn't at it that weekend, was he? But
No.
I know you and him had a little bit at the end, and I remember you were obviously upset, and why wouldn't you be? And then there was some little needle there, but yeah, it was a strange one in a way, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's a backstory to it. Adrian was just constantly on me the whole tournament, even when we weren't playing each other, talking about the whole England-Australia thing and how I shouldn't be playing for Australia. And he had every right to come up to me and mention that. But when he puts the England shirt on, he turns into a very different person. And I suppose that's the case in a lot of sports. But before we played each other in the singles, he was properly going at me backstage, and I thought, there's only one way to shut you up, and that's to beat you. And I did. And when we went into the final eliminator at the end, it was just pressure like I've never felt in my life. It was insane. But Taylor, in that one, he was just doing his thing, just trying to play darts. If anything, trying to temper Lewis. And me and him were just like, zzz, proper electricity between us. And the captains were just saying, what's going on between these two?
Yeah, I remember 𝗍𝗲 sort of hit the winning double, went to celebrate, and Taylor was like, be a bit respectful. And 𝗏𝗏𝗲 was the same. He took it all right. It was all really about you and Adrian, wasn't it? You were the ones fired up. And it became like a bit of a duel. But it was the year, the World Cup, the format was very sketchy, wasn't it? There was a lot of darts, Paul, wasn't it? So for you to have won that World Cup, it had been some achievement because I think it was something like 2 pairs, 2 singles, day off, then a pairs, and it was really a long format. So you'd have earned it if you'd won that World Cup.
Yeah.
And,
I actually thought that when I threw for the double 10 on the 56 checkout, I thought it was in. It was really close.
Yeah.
But when it left my hand, I thought this is in this. And that would have been the perfect payback for everything that Australia had ever done for me. And I would have gladly handed that trophy to Simon 𝗏𝗏𝗏. But there's something that happened after the final that a lot of people don't know, and they should know. Adrian got a little stick for giving me some stuff on camera, and I just stood there and took it. But I did something that was very wrong after that final, and I got fined by the DRA for it, and I take full responsibility for it. My darts in my hand, I thrust them onto the stage in anger that we'd lost the final. One of them had ricocheted and hit a cameraman. So I didn't realise where one of the darts had gone, but Adrian did know. And when he was chastising me, it wasn't anything to do with the final. It was to do with the fact that I slammed the darts on the floor, and he said that was wrong because he knew that one had hit a cameraman.
And that was just out of pure frustration. I
Yeah,
imagine.
absolutely. But that should never be condoned.
No.
I did that twice, and funnily enough, I did it later on that year. So I hadn't learned my lesson. The DRA took some money from my pocket, rightly so. And I don't think anybody should really criticise for Adrian Lewis for giving me a telling off in that moment, because I deserved it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned there about representing Australia, what it meant for you, but some people will be wondering how it come about that you did represent Australia, and then what did that mean to you to wear those colours, to play representing not only yourself but a country that you say has given you a hell of a lot? And for you, Mark, playing in the World Cup, what did it mean to play for your country?
Yeah, it was fantastic, and obviously the World Cup, we kind of got it off the ground a little bit. I think there was a match between, I don't want to bring it up, but I think it was the sort of the standout tie when we played Australia in the first World Cup. It was in Rainton Meadows, it was getting snowed off, and the Spaniards won the first game, and it really sort of caught the imagination. And then we played Australia in the semi-final, and it was a proper sort of underdog, me and Barry Bates, but the format played in our hands. And I think the first World Cup, people were sort of watching it going, wow, I'm not sure about this. It was brilliant, wasn't it? And then from there, but yeah, just when you played, it was a different pressure, but a nice pressure. But Paul will tell you, you throw in, you're like, oh my God, what's he thinking? Your partner. That was the big thing. What's your partner thinking? Because if you throw in for not just yourself, another player, and that was the hard part, because look, Simon would have never gone, and vice versa, would never say, come on, Paul, you don't criticise, but you thinking, wow, he must be thinking, what am I doing with him? But it was a different pressure, but a fantastic event, and that's what playing for your country should be like. It should bring that pressure, but the honour of it as well, it was fantastic. I still love it now, even though I'm not involved.
Sticking with the World Cup, we'll move on to another highly talked about game, 2015, playing against the Belgians. And I'm stirring the pot a little bit here, but these are the games that people remember, that stick in the mind. And there was certainly no love lost between you and 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗃 back in 2015.
Do you know what? Kim and I have always gone on pretty well, but when we play darts, it's like two fireworks combining and going bang. When we first played at the Worlds, it was an encounter to remember, and Kim didn't do anything wrong in that game, and he didn't do anything wrong in the World Cup games either. It's just wanting to beat each other at any cost. And when you got two players that want to do that against each other, fireworks will fly. And, there were gestures in that game. There were, cutthroat gestures, which we all got fined for, apart from Simon, because he didn't do it. But there was nothing sinister about it.
From Simon, because he didn't do it.
He didn't know what was going on. He was just playing his game.
He was just doing his thing. I mean, he was clean cut, but the 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗃 boys and me, obviously they took what I did the wrong way. I didn't get rid of Kim in the singles. If I had, we wouldn't have had that pairs, quite frankly.
Oh, you should have done, Paul.
I had my chances. I should have taken him out. That hurt.
Yeah.
I walked off stage without shaking his hand. It wasn't a show of disrespect. It was a case of, right, let's get the pairs on then.
Yeah, it's the second singles rubber, weren't you? So you just literally just got to turn on your heel and get back up there.
Yeah.
Was it his celebrations in that singles game that were starting to get under your skin? I mean, he was giving it, obviously, he come back from 3-0 down. He was giving it, real large to the crowd. And obviously, you're standing right next to him when he's roaring in your ear. Was that something that started to bother you?
I can say, hand on heart, that didn't bother me. It was all about me telling myself off for losing a 3-0 lead. I had my chances to beat him. I was the one who was telling myself off, and when I walked off stage, it was right. Scrub that. Now we win the pairs and we go forward. But that pairs match was me looking like 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗃. I was so angry with myself that I just couldn't get past it. And that was what was wrong with my career between, say, 2012 and around 2016, when things started to go really wrong for my game. Yes, I got injuries, but mentally, I was just telling myself off too much. Your agent, Jason, who was a close friend of mine, he came up to me once and said, you got to remember, it's not you against the world. I said, it feels that way, though. And I've cut myself a break the last few years, trying to take some pressure off myself in many facets of life. But at the time, I just felt like everybody was watching me. I felt like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders, and if I didn't perform, then I felt like a nothing.